Hi, my name is Carol Butler, and I've run this GoFundMe for a couple of years now. And I know it's not a sexy GoFundMe because it's not asking for the hundreds of thousands that we've really spent over 20 years when we moved, three of us, into this house in Lake Wylie, South Carolina, and ended up with feral cats coming out of the woods. And I never thought for a moment I'd be stuck not being able to form a 501c for reasons that will astound you if you knew why. It has nothing to do with me. I only live on 1 acre, but I just buried my mother and father, and I had my two best friends, and we moved here. And our first day here with our 6 rescued animals, we had 2 dogs, a cat that had been with me for like 8 or 9 years, another animal or 2 that had been with Catherine maybe for 16. And at any rate, there was a feral cat under the deck with 6 kittens, and I started shaking over that. I went, "Oh God, that's going to be 20 years," and but I can tame 6 kittens. And then she moved them, and when I went to feed them, because of course you want to feed them, you want to feed them in the same place every day. Why? Because you want to trap them, and you can't trap a mother with the kittens that early, because then the children won't get the nourishment. So I had to sort of leave them alone and just feed them, and they would come out, but then other cats came out. So these community animals, that's what a feral is. Somebody was irresponsible with their male cat, and somebody else was irresponsible with their female cat, meaning they didn't spay or neuter. And those 2 cats got together and had kittens. And those kittens, most of them died because they weren't found, and those that survived died horribly through parasites, through eagles swooping down and hawks eating them, or dying of starvation, which is one of the worst ways to go, or being eaten inside out by worms. So I know a lot about ferals after 20 years, and no, I never dreamed we would be doing this. Margaret got colon cancer in the middle of this. She was a great source of support. The neighbors didn't want to help because they said they'd watched this happen, and it wasn't their fault, and they weren't going to spend their money or life years because of other irresponsible people. But my thought was, well, the cats didn't pick this, and I just knew. Once I told everyone, look at this situation, I wrote a beautiful letter to everyone in the neighborhood, and the response I got was, I did get $50 from one neighbor, and let's see, I did get one neighbor to fix a cat if I ever caught him, just one particular cat. She would pay for it, and then she moved. So there are a whole bunch of new neighbors now. They don't know the story. But if you look at my GoFundMe, you'll see that we had 125. I adopted and tamed out at least 20. And so many died because they were so sick, but that's very expensive. You take them to the vet, you get all the workup, all the shots, you treat them with expensive medication. It took me 3 years to trap all of them. And I just buried my mother and father when the 3 of us, my 2 best friends, bought this house, and they had a job. This was full time, but I thought, I'll get this under control. I'll form a 501c. And then when I couldn't, I thought, well, the benevolent, caring people in Lake Wylie, South Carolina will understand these are community cats, and they'll help me out. Well, the problem became, no, they wouldn't, because this county feels so strongly about feral animals, because they're rather ignorant about it, that they shoot them. So I was caught between a rock and a hard place. I couldn't advertise. So I started making things to help fund my rescued animals. That's what I called them. Like I was going out as an individual just looking for animals to rescue. As we were spending thousands, I'm not kidding, one cat, major problems, 5,000. One, every one of them, as they went to the vet, they charged me $250 a cat 18 years ago. Oh yeah, $250. Now that isn't true today, and I'd like to think I had something to do with seeing that changed, along with a very good friend of mine that I'm not going to include naming in this. Anyone that knows me knows her. We spent 7 years, once a year, on a corner in Lake Wylie. Me, not being a 501c, just asked everyone in the community to bring a bag of food. for all the feral cat caretakers. And I educated them about what a feral is, how it happens, and how they can avoid it, like spay and neuter. Spay and neuter and keep your cat in. There's no reason really in the extreme weather we're having now for any cat to ever be outside. And I've been accused, anyway, before I tell you that story, for 7 years we stood on a corner. I was with the 501c Animal Adoption League. We helped adopt a lot of regular cats out. I made things to try and sell, which were beautiful. We called them kitty corners, and I hand painted them. Catherine and I made them. They were threefold things that you put in front of a litter box. And we sold a few, not enough to buy 2 bags of cat food, to tell you the truth. And people did bring cat food. And we had Friends of Feral Felines out there and various other 501cs over the years. But as the years went on, and this was just one day out of the year, we got less and less cat food donations. So not being shy and being a theater major and also being desperate for some help, I decided to become Madam Catalyst. National Feral Cat Day is October 16th, and that's near Halloween too, and that's bad for black cats. So it was fun when I became Madam Catalyst at this once-a-year event we did. Put a tent up, told people I'd read animal medicine cards, and I did for $20. Your past, present, and potential. And that, I can't tell you, 8 million people came out to have their past, present, potential read, but I had fun with a few that did, and they enjoyed it, and I'm very intuitive. And we got more cat food than we'd ever gotten before. But I couldn't continue being Madam Catalyst there. I went to Pet Palooza and did the same thing, but by the time you get in, no matter what you spend or what you try and do, you can't make enough money to pay for the tremendous amount of food and wheat straw. And by the way, they weren't just walking up, here all the kitties come to one place. They're terrified of you. If you don't handle a cat in the first 10 weeks of life, then they think you're King Kong. And so when you go to pick them up, they're going to fight for their life because they think you're going to eat them. Can you imagine if King Kong was picking you up? So feral cats have a bad rap, but they die horribly when no one intervenes. They get full of worms. They're starving. I mean, what are they eating? People think they're killing birds. They don't have the strength to do that. Your lawn care system is killing the birds, by the way. And I'm not here to talk about that, but it's not the feral cats. They have no energy to do that. But they might be getting a mouse here and there, but that's not good food for them. We've got domesticated cats now. Even if they're feral, they still cannot survive on mice that are full of worms or grubs or whatever else you think they're eating. Your garbage, they're not able to get to it. So every day 10 more showed up until there was 125, and I just nearly went bonkers. I wrote a letter to the neighborhood and no one would help. And again, one gave me $50 and another one picked a specific cat that when I ever trapped that one she'd pay for, and then she moved. So the neighbors here have no idea the thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars we've spent while I wasn't earning thousands and thousands of dollars. You can't leave all these animals and take care of them and feed them and give them the medicine like deworming and tame them so that every year you can get them a rabies shot and a feline leukemia shot. And I'm still amazed that I was told on one occasion with one vet, because when I trapped them, whether it was on a Thursday or Monday, I never left the trap unattended. I'd be sweating bullets nearby and waiting for one cat to go in. And the first 15 was a breeze. But the others started observing that clacking noise that the trap makes. It's humane. It just, once they walk in to eat whatever I set up, they get trapped, I throw a towel over it. At that moment, I go to the vet. I even had one vet say, well, Miss Butler, you've come on a day we don't do surgery, and we're going to have to charge you for boarding, on top of spaying and neutering. But now people are a little bit better educated, but if they were so better educated, we would not have shelters in the spring full of unwanted animals, because irresponsible people irresponsible people. There's no other word for it. And it's cruel. It's very cruel not to spay and neuter an animal and put it out. And it's also not very nice not to help someone like me who thought I'd have this under control in 3 years and that the community would jump in and just throw money and volunteer to help, anything. But that did not happen. And after 7 years of educating, I even did something called Catalina Tips and Tidbits. I wrote every week for 2 years for our local community station. So Catherine and I made little trifold things that you put in front of a litter box, and I also hand painted. Everything I did, I'm a playwright. I wrote plays that also got my 2 cents in about ferals. I've tried to make a living from computer as I've tried to help animals, and so I've been a Jack and Jill of all trades. So I've lost income for 20 years. I've really managed to spend both of our retirements at this point, but it shouldn't have gone on in 20 years. So I started this GoFundMe account just to reach $20,000, what we normally spend in 1 year, just on food and sometimes the vet. But lately, with geriatrics and 5 bags of prescription food for thyroid, for gastrointestinal that can't be cured, I order Fortiflora. I use intestinal food. I even add fiber. I've done everything I can. And yes, they're old, 19. As my vet now, my current vet reminds me, they're 149 years old. But that means very, very expensive. And I'm very loving and compassionate. And I think if one had to go to their 10th life, and I did write a book called The 10th Life, I can't even afford to cremate them. They're charging $200 to cremate them, and I need the money for the living. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there. But I'm asking you today, I will show some pictures beyond this video of things we have done. Put misters out in the summer to keep them cool. You'd see cats sitting beside squirrels under a mister. It was so hot. And in the winter, doing wheat straw. You couldn't use blankets if they got wet or moldy. That was not good for the cat. It'd be constantly changing them. So you name it, and I know what to do about it, except raising money, and I have done everything I can think of except get a monkey in a cup. I don't want to be asking for help. I never thought I'd have to. I always made a very good living as a salesperson. I was in advertising. I make videos. I've got an online school I just opened. I've just run out of time before I've gotten the amount of help I thought that would give me a leg up. And so I'm not embarrassed to ask for help from a community that, these were community cats. These were yours too. All of these cats were as much yours, whoever's watching this, as they were mine. But I've given 20 years of my life, actually much more, to retirements and every dime I've ever made. And it's a struggle. And I've wanted to travel, and I have. A friend actually let me use a place in Charleston. I got away for 5 days, and I didn't know what it was like to wake up and not hear a cat crying or clean bowls and empty them. And anyway, take care of a wildlife. I called this acre of land we live on sanctuary so that people wouldn't kill deers on it. Oh yes, deer would go down to the water, and people, bad hunters in boats with bright lights, would try to shoot the deer as they tried to drink. And this is why I'm trying to take care of all the feral cats. And yes, we in this county have someone that they shoot feral cats. So I couldn't really advertise. I had to call them my rescued cats. And I've been interviewed as a hoarder and never have been. Had ionizers up. We've been very sanitary. Some of the cats don't even know each other. And no, it's not a big place. I've got 2 in this room, and right now, because we're down, one in this room, 1 in that room. And that way it's sanitary and you know who's sick. And so they finally, when I got down to this low roar, they finally came inside. And that just saved a lot of problems with the very expensive misters. They don't last very long. Of course, I'd use mine for 4 months at a time during the summer. So I'm asking you today, I'm going to certainly show some pictures from the past, to share my GoFundMe. give me a leg up so I can get my life jump started instead of every dime. And believe me, we're out. And we get convenience shots. I don't know if you know what that is, but I can't pill 6 cats every single day. I mean, I'm really good at it. I'm fast. And we clip claws every 6 weeks. I want to do a course, and I want you to buy it. That would also help me financially, on how to help feral cats, how to trim claws. I might have little mini courses, so it'll be very easy to support us as I'm teaching. I never wanted to be someone with a monkey in a cup saying, gimme, gimme, gimme. I wanted to give back, and I certainly have. And I've certainly changed a lot of lives. Now you can help change mine. I'm starting over at my age, and I don't care. You're as young as you think you are, and I'm smarter than ever. I can now set my foot outside, but it's the same routine every single morning for someone who cannot stand routine, who is so creative. I've written 24 plays, and no, they don't pay the playwright, and they've been produced. And I've done 2 films, and no, you don't get paid for that, but I'm a writer. And I have not let this deny me that opportunity in creating an online school with Catherine Gillis. But I'm here today to ask you to share this, to look at, would you have given 20 years of your life? How much do you think you would have spent? And would you have come to my house for 20 years? That's another thing. And would I have let you in to shovel the litter boxes? We used to do 80 pounds of litter a week. We're a little bit down from that, but people used to ask me, well, Carol, how often are you changing the litter? And I got so tired of that question. I said, well, how often do you flush the toilet? So you can imagine how often I've washed my hands, which is why I never have any fingernails. My hands are in water all the time. And I love these animals, and they shouldn't have had to be born into a situation like this. And I'm not resentful about spending 20 years of my life so much, but I can't do it another 2 without some help. So please share this. Please make a donation. Nothing is too small. And thank you, my friends, and thank you, Stanley Matthews, and all the women that wish not to be identified, who have 501Cs, who occasionally give me some money and monthly give me a case of cat food or 2. I thank you for that, but we need the income for the vet visits and the cat food. And for us, I just need a year. I've just needed a year to have just a little bit of money to finance the business endeavor I've had to do, being held in captivity. So thank everybody. All of you know who you are, for helping us. And please share this and help us continue to help these community cats, and for me not to be homeless. So that would be nice. Thank you very much for all of your support, particularly you, Stanley Matthews. And I look forward to your response or ideas. And being hired to do, I make videos. Please hire me. I certainly will negotiate a price. I want to work for money, not have my hand out. But I'm at the point that after 20 years and more thousands of dollars than you can imagine, we need your help. So for whatever you can do, I thank you. This has been Carol Butler on Gofundme.